I met James at a boot camp. He was 1 year out of college and had been trying for the life of him to learn how to build a web application. What have you built so far? Evans, it's a bit embarrassing, but after 1 year of going through tutorials and figuring out all the technologies that are involved in building applications, I haven't built any full application that I can show you. Have you built a full application that you can't show me? Unfortunately, no. I've been going from tutorial to tutorial, just learning concepts, but I haven't been able to apply myself. So James is in an interesting situation where he has learned about building web applications instead of learning to build a web application. It's the difference between education and learning. In education, you get external knowledge from outside, tutorials, videos, classes, you name it. And in learning, the knowledge is internal, developed by performing something or going through an experience, like actually building a site. Have you found yourself in a situation where you hoped to learn something, but then what you actually went ahead and did was to get an education? So that's one thing. Decide if you want to get an education or you want to learn. Okay, let's go to point number 2. Do you know what success looks like? So back to James. James, so how have you found the boot camp? It's amazing. Imagine in 2 weeks, I've been able to build a full application using technologies and languages which I didn't even know before starting the bootcamp, and I can show you my application. More experienced developers than me have had a look at it, have given me feedback, have told me that it looks good. So I have something that I can be proud of and that I can put on my resume and say, this is what I built. From a whole year of watching tutorials, I heard some people call this tutorial purgatory, to 2 weeks of being able to learn quickly and actually build something, evidence that he's actually learned. One thing that's clear here, step number 2, is having clarity on what success looks like. In James' case, to build an application and put it live using specific technologies was his goal for 2 weeks. And this is very liberating because now he can ignore all the tutorials online about different web technologies and only focus on what he needs to do to progress in his quest to build this application that can log in, that can sign up, that can perform a couple of functionalities that his users would want. So, number 2, do you know what success looks like for whatever you're learning? Let's go to the third thing. Do you have a learning path? If you're going to go to a destination, then you need a map and you need a route and you need to know where you're going. A learning path defines what you need to know to get to your learning goal and what you need to do to actually learn. In James' case, he needs to know HTML to actually create something that browsers will understand. But then once he does that, he realizes HTML isn't pretty, and I probably need something that will make my interface nice. And that's where another technology, CSS, comes in, and he needs to go and learn that. So that's one way, figuring out what do I need to learn next to get to my goal. Alternatively, he could pay someone by buying a course or getting a course online. He could pay a mentor, he could pay a tutor to help him go through this path, just create a path. This is someone who's been there and done this. And so they know this is what you need for the next milestone. And this would help him to get towards his goal quicker. Finally, know how you'll check for understanding and learning. In this case, James could have conversations with you and probably teach you a thing or two about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the technologies that he's discovered in tutorials. Similar to me, I can have a conversation with my friend about artificial intelligence and machine learning. So if I want to teach you something and I realize, oh shoot, I don't actually have the capability to explain this really well, that's feedback for me that I need to go back and revisit the concepts to understand the subject better. In James' case, he had spent a year just trying out things, going through tutorials, not getting feedback on what he's actually doing. And in the 2 weeks of the coding bootcamp, he was getting feedback every single day. His work was getting reviewed, being told, hey, this is good. Hey, you could do this in a better way. This direction that you're going is going to take too long. Quality of your work is fantastic. So things like this on a daily basis helps him to accelerate his learning way more than he could have done without it. The fourth thing is, how will you check for understanding and how will you check for learning? So I want you to think of one thing that you are currently learning or learning about. And I want you to answer these questions. Number one, are you looking to learn or are you looking to get an education? Two, what does success look like for you? How will you know that you've succeeded? And number three, do you have a learning path? Can you get one? Do you need to create one? And finally, number four, how will you know that you are learning and how will you check for understanding along the way as frequently as possible? That's it for this one. I hope these 4 basics for accelerating your learning have been useful for you. Next time, I want to share with you 2 things that will guarantee you will be motivated to learn as quickly as possible. Until next time, I want to challenge you to grow the good in your life and grow the good in other people's lives. Evans Learn Musomi.